take it.
You want to be on the same side? Is he beating you, Steven? Huh? No, we're okay.
It's a correct. Feet of the ground.
Drop it back. Over back. Sorry. That's it. Michael! Jesse's got 23. You have 11.
Fouls on number 32 with his first tonight.
Set a screen, Mike. Switch it.
Fouls on number 30, his first tonight. Fouls on number 13, his first tonight. Fouls on number 11, his first tonight.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So I will talk to him about that, and the other issue is in regards to we did that jail ministry video that we came down for, and I got a copy of that, because that turned out really nice.
Did it?
Yeah, and so the folks from St. Helens that were participating, we'll just do an extra show. When we come up to good.
Did you get to see that footage of you jumping out the
No.
plane? You haven't seen it?
No, I've never saw
We
it.
mixed it in with the.
I'm sure you guys did. I had a lot of comments about it. Actually, that was the hardest thing in the world, was to be jumping out of an airplane and you can only say things like, wow. First time ever jumping out of an airplane and
And the only thing that you could say
was,
wow.
well, they put a live wire on me. And,
Thinking a couple of holy would have helped, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Golly's just.
It just wasn't in the
No.
All right, why don't you come over here, Dan? Have you you're gonna talk to us like this. You're gonna be kind of referencing some things.
Okay. Don't worry. You guys are okay. We're not gonna. Okay. How you doing? Good. We're gonna shoot the hallway here. Thank you. No problem.
ESPN in there. ESPN. They get GTV in here?
Yeah, we would be. This is Munson, so yeah. In my head, it's I live in
Isn't it?
Clarendon.
But this is Munson.
This is Munson. Property line's actually behind you. We're Munson here. I live in Clarendon, so because of the whole Aquila Village thing, I don't get your.
Well, that was discussed again recently about, but it impinges on Aquila Village. Did I see something in the paper that was right? There was housing auctions, and it says like this house is being sold by the sheriff, and there was 82 units in Aquila Village.
No,
It had to be a misprint.
that's got to be a misprint. No,
Are there 82 units? at
no,
Aquila Village?
no. I don't think there's 82 homes. I think total population of Aquila Village is in the hundreds. So
That's why.
yeah, I mean maybe.
Unless they sold the whole.
No. Well, an Aquila Village can have weird things. You can have like 6, 7 units to make in some instances, to make a lot.
All right.
Do you have the same jib? Yep. Same one?
Then a couple things I thought I might run into on that.
I talked to him briefly. You know, I think part of him is somewhat relieved it's all over, no matter what took place.
You want to get to a point where you go, man, just make it end. I mean, it's
So,
crazy, intense. I have no respect for anyone who's ever done it. There's no point.
You had a fun time with Bob Dowd that night, huh? Is he good?
Yeah.
At our place?
What's that?
The Bob that came in at our place and.
Oh yeah, he was good. That was it.
Can we come through?
You need sure, come on in. Come on in. I'm trying to hold you up. Take care. Need some footage. Film footage here. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, Bob's pretty interesting.
It's good. It's good.
You don't need more weight, Jeff, 'cause it's real light on you.
Yeah.
He was very, very good.
Well,
I learned some things.
I think Lenny getting a third of the votes, I think that was a big win for him. Because it could have been a much larger percentage. Okay.
Want to put up the lights too?
You know, Jeff, I'm not sure if we're going to have power close by.
Yeah, I got one.
You gonna be able to use the facility for other cities to use it, or?
Yes, that's the goal. In fact, this morning's breakfast was with the U.S. Marshal, Pete Elliott. One of the topics was housing federal prisoners.
U.S. Marshal?
Yeah.
You have it
Right.
here.
Right.
Right?
Right. Up to and including fifth-degree felons.
I thought that was my cell phone, but I figured if I was hearing it all the way from in here, you'd ring pretty loud. Just kind of walk slowly, look at the lens, make your hands.
Talking or just?
Yeah, you'll keep talking. Why don't you say, just for reference, say, process of building a new jail, better than this, and you can reference some of this stuff. So you want to come up here and then stop about here.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Do that.
And action.
Okay. We're in the process of building a new facility. It's going to give us a lot greater capability, a much more secure facility. It will take care of issues like our infrastructure, which is just added on, albatross, heating, air conditioning, all tacked onto the building. This building's approximately 42 years old. It's had a hard life without growth.
It's good. It's good. That's what we're looking for.
Okay.
We'll probably do it one more time. Walk.
Probably in here.
Yeah. I'm going to locate back over there when I get ready. You're referencing this, but always keep looking right at the lens.
At the lens?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll try to hide myself so you don't reference me. All right, you ready?
Ready? And we'll wrap it again.
Ready? Action.
Okay, the current Geauga County Jail has been in use for over 42 years. The building lacks the security measures that we need and we will have in our new facility. If you also notice, you'll see like the air conditioning is add-on. It's very, very old. The building was never designed to be air conditioned in the first place. So the new facility is going to give us a lot more capability.
Clear.
No, that's fine. What you got me perfect. Okay. Great tools. How do we survive without cell phone? So a commercial on making commercials. Yes, sir.
We really appreciate how you handle helping us out when we have problems. I mean that, 'cause I never heard anything like that from you. Come right firsthand, and it means a lot.
Got that?
You're welcome.
Thank you.
How to do business.
Thank you. Because everything was handled and taken care of very fairly after that. And we,
If you walk away saying one thing when you're all done,
well, you know what?
It's very odd to be taped. speaker?
Yeah, well, they want to hear about my airplane. That was one of the wildest, craziest things I've ever done.
Yeah, I would hope so, Dan.
Yes, I did. No problem. I will be there. We have access to television VCR over there. Okay. They're GTV screens. Yeah.
It's a matter of fact.
Sure.
You go Wednesday.
What about the market? Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me. Yeah, no problem. Give me a call, let me know. But, yep, okay. Yep. That was them calling me, confirming I'm gonna do it on Wednesday. So, this building, both sides, everything. So a mansion. This side. Your car keys and stuff.
No, you don't.
No problem. Glad to help you guys. Once you-
What is he on his?
Yours?
Thank you. Okay, Dan, we'll see you. Thanks.
Good.
Hey, Dan. Nobody want to see.
So I finally got to run. I'm like, she was, she sent me a CD of her singing,
her singing. I said, so now we're learning about each other. It was funny. But she was.
Second. There it is. Okay,
Where are we looking?
me.
Oh.
Okay, forgot the camera totally. Okay, you can jump in back and forth. Okay, however you want. Whoever wants to take the question is perfectly fine. Chances are I'm going to cut to some B-roll too, so it really doesn't make any difference. All right. Well, you know, for both of you though, what's your background and training in video production? Whoever wants to start is fine.
We both went
These guys
to.
are good. No, I'm sorry.
We both went to Kent State. Jeff majored in radio and TV production, and I majored in advertising. So what that does is direct him more towards the engineering side of the business and me towards the marketing and business side of the business. And then, of course, it's continuous training throughout your career.
Obviously, you had formal training in radio and TV production.
Yes, I went to Kent State University and received my degree in radio TV production there.
Did you lean more towards radio at one time and then shift over to TV? Because I get a lot of people that, when I talk to them, they go, well, I was doing the radio thing, but then I came into television. Radio people told me, oh, you'll hate it, and then they don't. You know.
I enjoyed doing the radio production, but I leaned more towards the video production because that's kind of what I had been doing before I even went to college. You know, shooting weddings and video projects for different friends and family, and so I felt a little bit more comfortable with the video production aspect.
Any thoughts of ever being in front of the camera either? Or was it always strictly production and that's it? You didn't want anything to do with the front of the camera?
We didn't plan on that. That wasn't a goal early on, but with our GTV involvement, we're often tasked with going out and interviewing people. So I would be in front of the camera for that, and Jeff would be taping us. So that's interesting. It just evolved that way. That wasn't a goal. Your question about our training, I think if you look back, some of the best training we ever had was when we first had our VHS camcorder when we were kids, and we started making family productions to make people laugh. That was our goal, to work on it, to edit it as simply as we could, and to show it to the family, and they had a ball and we had a ball doing it. And you know, that's where you get some of your best training. So, of course, later on with college and everything, that supports that. But that was an important part of our development.
Cool. All right, just checking the shot. All right. If you had to, and this goes to both of you two, whoever wants to jump in, would you consider yourself an artist or a mechanic? You know what I mean by mechanic, a craftsman, as opposed to an artist. And there's two ways to look at that. You can be both, but go ahead.
I would have to say you have to do different roles at different times. Sometimes you have to be an artist, and sometimes you have to be a mechanic. Because of the technical aspects of working with computers, nowadays and the different types of cameras that are out there and the different equipment, you have to be able to know how to use the equipment. So the technical aspect has to be taken care of first, and then you can concentrate on the artistic aspect of what you need to get done.
For someone looking at this as a career, I think initially they're attracted to the art behind the work. But what you really start to understand is that fundamentally the business side has to come first. You have to build a relationship with the client, then you can work on the creative. And the creative is always that dressing that pulls the whole project together. From my standpoint, no, I am not an artist. That is not my role. Jeff would be the artist. He can not only design, draw, animate. Those are a couple of his strengths, and our clients greatly appreciate that. And also the mechanics side of it. He knows the equipment. So, as Jeff referenced, every job has different elements, but you can never. No one would ever call me an artist, but they would call Jeff an artist, and
That's right, no one would ever call you an artist.
We'll have that. Okay, we can use that without a problem. All right, let's see. How'd you get started? I mean, you came out of school. Did you work someplace else before you started your own business, or did you just?
here's the. Other than Jeff was actually after graduation, he was already in production. He was working jobs. I was working for a company called Sales Building Systems in Mentor, Ohio, and I was on the client side. I got tasked with developing a project for our company that highlighted the benefits of our company. The only person I knew at the time that was in production mode was Jeff. So after negotiating with the company, we got Jeff on board to help out. So together we worked on this first major corporate video for Sales Building Systems. And from that, things kind of took off. A few people saw that work, and they wanted it. And after about probably a year, maybe a year and a half of working both ends of the job, we decided to form the company. And initially, our company was Giaga Video Productions. But it turned out that when you tried to talk Giaga Video Productions to someone in another state, they had no idea what you were referencing. And so over time, we became Lake Erie, and that was a more identifiable name.
Interesting. You had to evolve like that. That's actually. Okay, so when you were doing videos and you were kids, and you had this dream of this would really be cool. This is a lot of fun. Okay, and then you started the business, and now you're doing it on a daily basis, and you're putting food on the table and doing it that way. Is this what you thought it was going to be when you were doing those videos back when you were kids?
I would have to say that when I originally was doing the videos back in high school, and I didn't even intend to get into video production at that point. I had originally gone to Kent, not quite sure of what I wanted to do. At one point, I even looked into being an architect, but I think that my skills were more suited to doing video production, and I really enjoyed doing video production. And so I kind of molded myself into doing something along those lines. So originally, no, I didn't intend on doing it, but then I knew that I was fairly good at video production, and I could be creative at times, and I enjoyed doing it. It was a lot of fun, and so that's kind of
Did you think that it was going to be what it is now?
When we were kids, I never envisioned being in video as a career. At the point when we were making videos as teenagers and so on, it was just a fun hobby to do. And our career here changes every year. We adapt different things, and technology changes. So no, we didn't envision this. We have such a diverse career, and things change quickly. Clients change, their expectations change. So we are now seeing what we can do and doing it, and we have great plans for the future.
All right, I'm going to change the shot a little bit. I'm going to go to a single shot.
I don't know if that answered your question quite
I'm kind of in the ballpark with it.
effectively.
I'm kidding. All right. Let's see. I want you to take me through your role in when you set up and you go out on shoots. Okay, and tell me what you do for the business, and then I'm going to ask Jeff what he does, and that'll be a one-on-one separate thing. Tell me all the process that you go through?
My job starts with communication with the client. So it might be a company that has never heard of us before. It might be a company that has known us for years. My first task is to really find out what they want to do, because they often don't know exactly what they want to do. Is it a training video? Is it a corporate piece that's it's intended to increase sales? Is it something for historic purposes? So my job is to narrow that down. Once that's in place, then develop a timeline, develop a cost estimate for the production, and really start planning for the shoots. Initiate the writing, determine who's going to do the writing, whether it's going to be ourselves doing the writing or the client or a combination of the two, which is often the case, or if they have a relationship with a writer off-site, maybe we'll work with them. Lining up the voiceover talent, determining if there's going to be animation necessary for this project. So on paper, we have a really good working outline of the final project, making sure that within the company itself, meaning our client, that the people that need to know what's going on, they now understand what it's going to take to get it done. And that could be from the president to a sales manager to a marketing representative, however that is. Once we have a good working outline, then I typically get Jeff involved with the creative side of it. So the client's like, well, how is this going to look? Then I'll get Jeff in with me, telling him, here's our goal for this client, how are we going to accomplish this, and what's going to be the look, the finished look of it. So then he'll start playing with some ideas back here, and then we'll give them a brief presentation on what we expect the final piece to be. After that, it's a timeline, it's deadlines to meet, it is planning the shoots, making sure that the right equipment is in place, the right people are in place, and we are checking off our list of shots that we need to accomplish what they want to do either on video or DVD.
Okay.
I can go on and on here. Obviously,
Let's
go
let
to Jeff.
Slide in now at this point. Change my shot. And okay. So the project comes to you, and where do you take it from there?
When Chris comes to me with a project and we go out in the field on a shoot, first thing I do is kind of scope out the setup and determine which materials I will need for the production. Plus I have to look at how much time we have to get done what we need to get done at any particular site. You know, when you're starting off, you tend to want to do these big glorious productions and make everything as perfect as possible. But a lot of the times when you're out on a site, you have time when you're out on a site, you have time constraints, and the people that you're working with, you know, they want to get things done in a timely manner. And so what we do is we set up. I look for different things like electrical and the different lighting situations that we're going to be encountering, and then I'll talk to Chris and figure out, you know, from the script what shots we want to get, and then we go and we kind of losing it here.
So after you get there, okay, so you figure out your shots are on the shoot then, and once you've got the shoot, let's say you got the shoot in the can, do you both go to post with it, or does one of you handle post and the other one kind of oversee post? How does that work?
Well, let me take it.
Sorry, let me go to a two-shot, and I can cut that without a problem. Okay, good.
Once we have all the raw footage necessary, and we have the voiceover on DVD, and we have whatever animation elements are necessary, then we can go to post. And that's when Jeff really takes over and he starts to come up with a first rough cut. Then we'll look at it, and it's like any other project that has to sort of ferment or bake. You can't just work on a draft or two and then show it to the client. We look at it, we go over it and over it, make sure that that first draft back to the client is good. And it's important because they're expecting a high level at that point. They don't understand drafts. They understand final product. So we'll look at it together, back and forth, go through the timeline, look at the shots that aren't working. Something's always not working. How are we going to improve that? And he's working it from the end of actually the product on the computer. I'm thinking client. I'm thinking, what does the client expect from us, and what do we want to show them when we get ready and back in their office, or they're coming here to the studio. We are often given a short amount of time to complete projects. I think everybody in business has that problem. So how do you manage that time is important, and how do you manage that stress? We often try to figure in as much time as possible, let the client know the more time you give us to work on a project, the better it's going to be for you. So most of them understand that. That's just good business practice. And like any other creative work, you could go through 3, 4, 5 drafts before you're getting to where the client is comfortable with it. And to listen to them. That's another part. Another part that's really important is, what aren't we making here? Because they're not often comfortable with saying they don't like something in a video. So it's my job to say, you make sure if you don't like something in this piece, you got to tell us, because we may be missing a part of your business that we're not familiar with. So how are we going to know that unless you tell us? So you got to work on that honest relationship, and after a while, clients get into that comfort zone, and they start to tell you, we like this, we don't like this, let's change it,
Right.
and you eventually get to a final product.
Right. When you're doing post, Jeff, when you're done with the project, is there still something that you want to do to it? I find myself when I cut that I could keep going. I mean, I don't know if that's me or if that's a lot of people that I'm never really done with it. If you give me a project and I turned it in and it went to air and I got it back, I could fix a couple of things. I mean, there's always things that I could do.
There are projects that we work on that have they have a very creative element to them, and whether it's designing an animation or something along those lines, and you always want to tweak it further and further and further, but at some point, if the client's happy and everybody involved's happy, you just kind of have to move on. And it can be very rewarding at that point. If they're happy, great. You kind of leave it alone, and you move on to the next project.
That's a big problem, though. And you're referencing something that happens all the time, and it's myself managing the timeline, and it's Jeff wanting to make that animation all the much better or change something. He's always manipulating it, and so it becomes a point of contention where we have a deadline tomorrow, so let's get something to the client as good as possible, and then we'll have, once we get feedback from them, we can go back and change that animation or whatever part of the video it is that needs to be changed. But it's always something, and that's what I think everyone has to do in this business. You cannot just accept it. You have to continue to improve it, and that's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's always time versus money versus creativity, and those three don't always come together. I mean, they can have a lot of money. I've seen clients with a ton of money who don't have the time, and you go, "Oh my gosh, geez, you got a ton of money, and I can't spend it all
Right.
because you've got all this lack of time that I have." Then you have time and money, and they're not creative at all. They just want something that might as well be.
I think one of the worst things that can happen to you is you're given too much time. If you have too much time, you often don't approach it in a way that you feel comfortable with the amount of time, and as you know, things creep up on you. So if you're given a comfortable amount of time, and each project kind of changes on that degree, but you just keep going, and you develop it based on what is currently available, and that's money and time and resources of different varieties. But it's always a struggle to release something when you know that if you had another week or so, you could change it.
Right, you were going to add.
The nice thing about working with Chris, and we work together very well on this, is that he has a complete view of the entire project, whereas sometimes I am focused in on certain aspects of it, and he is very good at looking at it and making a determination at certain levels when we need to move on to the next segment of a production. Because when you're doing the creative aspect and some of the technical things, you are so focused on even down to the frame level of certain projects that you tend not to see the whole project. And Chris is very good at being able to determine when you need to move to the next segment.
Right, that brings me to the teamwork aspect of it. Obviously, there's teamwork involved. Be it a small production crew where there's maybe 2 or 3 people on a production crew, or maybe if you're on a multiple camera shoot where there's 20, 30 people on a production crew. Nobody really does television by themselves. I mean, there's always Oh, I'm sure there's a guy out there who writes, shoots, produces, edits, does the whole 9 yards, but that's the rarity. I don't think it. Does teamwork play a big role in what we all do?
Well, when you're out on a shoot, it's absolutely critical. You cannot get through a day without teamwork. And that's just not us. That's the client as well. They might be directing traffic. Let's say we're shooting in a factory. They have to direct traffic on where we're going, and they have to make sure that the people there understand that we're going to be shooting a process and so on. But yeah, the teamwork, the keeping things going. An 8-hour shoot is a tremendous amount of work. There is nothing easy about that. So you make sure that everybody knows their role. You make sure the client understands their role. Part of my responsibility on a site is to make sure the client stays happy. Things are slow. Things can be extremely slow on a shoot. They're expecting maybe some quick turnaround, but Jeff's over here trying to get the right shot on a piece of equipment that he might have to do from 3 or 4 different angles. The client thinks we can show up, shoot it from one point, move on to the next, where I have to kind of step in and say, we really need to give this shot the right amount of time, and we're going to make it perfect if you let us take that amount of time and keep the client away from Jeff so he can do his job.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that always works out real well. Let me see. If you were talking to a junior high school or a senior high school student, what do you wish that you knew now? I'm sorry. What do you wish that you knew then that you know now about the business? How could you have prepared yourself back in junior high school and high school?
I'd say one of the most important things that I would tell anyone that was in high school would be whatever project you're working on, whether it's in high school or at home, every project has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And follow through on it. Whether it's a homework assignment or if you're doing videos with your family, doing something of it, make sure that it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Sometimes you leave tails hanging out on different things, whether it's with homework or with a project you're working on for school. But do you know where I'm going with this one?
Yeah, it's a tough question. So your question again, what is, if we were back in grade school or middle school,
Yeah.
what would we want to know then that we know now about our career specifically or
Right,
work in general?
Let's about this career specifically.
Okay.
What were the types of things that you could have done to prepare yourself better back then? Oh, I should have taken more math. Oh,
well,
okay.
okay, now I'm with you.
I mean, and
From two,
they both work. I mean, that's where I'm going. So don't worry.
from my standpoint, I do quite a bit of writing, so anything that could have improved my writing skills would have been more beneficial for the company. And also, from the business side, accounting. Accounting is something to deal with every day. So I don't think kids in middle school are thinking about accounting, but they are thinking about math. So believe me that anything you do on the math side is going to help your accounting side. It all comes together. There's a quick application for what you're learning in math class is going to benefit you down the road. So those are two things that certainly are critically important to this career from my side, not necessarily from the production side, but from my side, those would be two things that I wish I would have paid a great deal more attention to in those middle years.
Right. So the combination being is like, work on your English skills and your math skills and be organized is what you're really saying.
Correct.
And then really come down and know where your project starts, begins, finishes, and make sure that you got stuff. Because I don't think a lot of kids are very organized at that age, and if they start that organization process early, it'll benefit them later.
There's one other piece on that, and it is the world of experience, because you have to be get as much experience doing anything as you can. It's going to help in this business. You may not know that at 7th, 8th, 9th grade, but working at the Dairy Queen or working on a farm or being part of 4-H, these are all things that are going to benefit you in this career, because the more experience you have, the more able you are to talk about people's businesses and their lives, and it works out well.
Because that's one thing about video is that we're never doing always the same thing. I find that you're not, I'm just going to do home improvement programs for the rest of my life, and that's all that I need to know. It doesn't work that way. You'll go from that till you'll be doing another kind of programming and selling widgets and divots for some company that you have no idea what they are. So it's,
There's kind of two different employment opportunities. I mean, there's more than that, but in video production, one would be where you're in a studio set up on a daily basis, and then the other one, which would be where you're in the field every day. And in the studio, if you're working for a news station or doing video production where you're doing specific things every day, things are going to relatively remain the same because it's the same working environment. But when you're doing field productions, it changes on a daily basis. Whether or not you're having to deal with,
quite hourly.
yeah, you know, sometimes you have to deal with the weather, you know, where it's raining, and that can make things more difficult. Heat is another issue. You have to know the technical limitations of what your equipment can handle. What kind of temperatures can your camera handle? So it changes, and B, you have to be prepared for change.
Very good. Good. We'll stop tape for a second. Give me a roll tape. Let me get a tighter shot here on that one, and I'll move over to Jeff on the other one. All right.
We've been blessed with good parents that helped us get started early on, and they've supported us through everything we've done business-wise, and so it's important that you have that family aspect to anything you're doing. The other thing I wanted to add was we get resumes weekly for people that want to work in this career. And after going through some interviews, I've noticed one thing, and that is that people often think that they're only going to have one job in a video production company. And typically that lends itself towards the creative side, because that's what they get the most enjoyment out of. And I applaud them for that, because they've identified something that they want to do, and potentially they're good at it. But from our standpoint, we could never hire someone here that plans on only doing one thing. If we're going to hire someone here, they're not only going to be doing the creative side, they're probably going to do some organization, they might even do some cleaning. It's a different environment today. Sure, there are video production companies that are large enough that you would only have one responsibility. But even within that environment, I think that you're going to be cross-trained to do quite a few things. So for the young people out there that are looking to get into this career, just be prepared to go into an interview and say, I really want to do this, but hey, I'm open to doing sales calls, I'm open to doing organization, some of the more mundane tasks associated with a company. And I think you'd have a much better job of getting, a much better chance of getting a job in this career.
Good point. Anything you'd like to add, Jeff? You can talk about the creative side. It seems you know, are there more?
Computer skills are extremely important. The whole industry has changed within the past 10 years, and you have to have a strong foundation in computer skills and be able to adapt to the different programs that are readily available. You know, one of the problems nowadays is there is so much new software and so many new programs that it's almost difficult to decide which I want to use. And you just learn one thing, and 2 days later there's a better version of it out. So you have to learn the software and the programs that you have now, and then be able to adapt to you have to be able to adapt to the new ideas and new software that is coming out on a daily basis.
Sure, because they've worked the bugs out of the ones that we bought, and then they make us buy the upgrade for another couple $100 all the time. Yeah. It's my own personal pet peeve, but that's not okay. I'm gonna stop saying that. I'm wrong. Do your thing.
My foraging was particularly good this morning, and, well, it was difficult to pull away.
Some high-tech animation here.
Suggestion. Sandy Ridge Reservation has an emphasis on wildlife preservation, and there are over 300 acres devoted to this goal. There is the meadow habitat, the wet woodland habitat, and the marsh habitat, which, of course, is my favorite. And each of these has areas to explore and view the flora and fauna or animal life found there. Tim, with your permission, I'll begin with a more detailed description of each of the habitats.
Sure, why don't we start at the meadow? That's the first area visitors see when they get to Sandy Ridge.
And so we begin. It's important to note that this portion of our park contains a few man-made improvements together with the natural features. For example, the Perry F. Johnson Wetland Center. This rustic structure
If you want, after I do, we can do this for a little. Let me know, and I can pull up like some more 3D animation type stuff. You know.
the trail, and everything is different.
Jeff, show them this and then show them working on a commercial or two.
Okay.
Now I gotta change tapes.